All right, yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Between the Game Sports. Intro, that's my basketball intro. I don't know what happened, but special guest today with my guy, Hoop Jargon, and Mr. Butch Alsandor. Welcome to the show, fellas. How's it going?
Hey, doing well, Will. How are you?
I'm good. Hoop Jargon, what's going on, man?
Doing good, man. Happy to be in the building, man. So let's have a good show. Let's do it.
Yeah. Very, very special show. Been kind of working on this for about 2 to 3 weeks, and Mr. Alsandor has a very busy schedule, so he reached back out to me and said, let's do it on Thursday. So here we are. But for those who don't know who you are, Mr. Alsandor, we kind of know who you are because you kind of covered the Houston sports for years. Just kind of introduce yourself to the people out there.
Yeah, you're right, Will. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you guys very much. As you said, I've been in Houston, maybe 27 years, almost. It's pretty close to about 28 years now. But I was at the CBS station for 20 years. The last 4 years there, acted as their main anchor and sports director. And, I enjoyed it. So covering sports in Houston, man, you cover everything. But you got to look at it this way. When I got to town, the Rockets won their 2 championships back-to-back. That was my first year. And I got here in 93. So 94 and 95 championships with the Rockets. The Oilers had Warren Moon, and they had that great team that Montana upset them. And the Astros were just starting to become the force that they are today. So I got here at just the right time.
Hey, them Astros are something we want to see to continue to succeed. And me and Hoop Jargon are only Astros fans. He hate everything else about about Houston sports. I don't have another team that I really cheer for. I watch the Rockets every now and then, but the Texans, good Lord, I don't know what they're doing on that side.
But they're doing a great job.
Rockets got some talented young players. That's
absolutely
another thing that I do now. Besides, I didn't mention the play-by-play for the SWAC football and basketball. I also do. I fill in on AT&T Sportsnet for the Rockets pre and post game show, and so it's different this year. They're a young team, man. There's no more Harden. There's no, it's a rebuilding process, but they have a lot of young talent, and you can see where if they just kind of infuse a couple of pieces, they could be there in a few years.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the West will be, kind of a little older, I guess you can say. You still
exactly.
have Phoenix. Phoenix will be good. I don't know how much longer Chris Paul is going to play. But then, after that, Golden State, and then everybody else is playing for that 2-3 seed with Dallas, Utah. Utah's always going to win games, but I don't see them winning anything in the playoffs. Who am I missing? Who?
The West, who else is in the mix?
Well, the Clippers have their moments every once in a while, but
Kawhi's out.
How about Phoenix?
Phoenix is going to be good. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how long.
Yeah. Memphis.
Oh,
yeah,
they're coming.
There's a lot of talent.
They are.
The Lakers will reload at some point.
Yeah, they're always going to reload, man. That's what they do.
The West going to be competitive.
They don't draft well, but they always find a way to find a good free agent somewhere out there. But let's jump right into it, man. First question is, like, the SWAC this year, especially SWAC football. How was just the atmosphere overall, and how did everyone take to it? And the new wave that's happening with the wave of folks coming in and supporting the SWAC. How was that?
Will, I think it was a lot different this year, and it was a lot different for a lot of reasons, and some of it starts. A part of it starts with Deion Sanders going to Jackson State because right off the bat, that was so much attention. And I was fortunate enough to do their games in the spring. COVID hit, and so they didn't play in the fall, and they kind of got their COVID protocol together. And then they played games in the spring. And, there were a lot of cancellations, but we did a few games, and it was our first chance to get a look at what Jackson State could be. And it wasn't until after the season when everybody started saying, hey, man, look, you did the games, those 2 quarterbacks that was there, they're all gone. He said, Deion's son is going to be the quarterback next year, and he's the real deal. It's going to be something to watch. And Shador was great, had a great year. For most of the year, he was number 2 in passing behind Aqeel Glass of Alabama A&M. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he showed what he could do, and then Jackson State advanced to the Celebration Bowl. But it was more than just the quarterback. I mean, that defense they had was awesome. But get back to your question, it almost felt like the SWAC was just kind of blowing up in a way. Mm-hmm. I mean, we got a new commissioner and Dr. Charles McClellan, and he came in and he had this plan that involved getting some more exposure and trying to push the SWAC out into the limelight a little more. And the deal we had when the season started, I mean, I think we had something like 32 games on ESPN, and by the time it was done, it was like 42 games, because the interest continued to grow, and it was just a fun thing to watch. It really was.
Yeah, I remember just kind of, I think, Jackson State and FAMU. I'm just sitting there kind of going through it, and I'm watching it, and then people are asking me to like go live about it and stream about it. It was absolutely one of the most spectacular things I've ever seen in hoop jargon. I don't know why you're sideways right now on my screen, but maybe
Willie Simmons at FAMU was also at Prairie View, right outside of Houston, and he was very successful there. And then now he goes to Florida, A&M, and does a tremendous job there. But now you're going to have Hugh Jackson, who is the coach of the Cleveland Browns over at Grambling. You got Eddie Robinson, who was a linebacker for the Oilers. And that's another story then, because, when I got to Houston, that was the other cool thing about coming in at the right time. I got to fly on the Oilers charter because at the time we had the Jack Pardee show, the Warren Moon show, and the Buddy Ryan show. How could I forget Buddy? The Buddy
Ryan, wow.
So we had seats on the charter, so we went to every game, and that was a trip. But the coach now at Alabama State is Eddie Robinson, who was a linebacker for the Oilers, who was a pretty doggone good linebacker for the Oilers. And so they're getting this influx of all these people coming in with this NFL experience, and it's bringing attention, it's bringing expertise, and it's bringing in recruits. I don't know if you've been watching some of these recruits who are changing their minds and are now going to HBCUs. So it's all working out in a really big way.
Yeah, I'm with you with that. There is the transfer portal has been huge, especially for Jackson State. But I've seen the back and forth between Grambling and Southern. They had 2 or 3 guys that were committed to Southern and then committed to change their mind and went over to Grambling. And then there was another guy late last night that went over back to Southern. And it's just like, my God. And I love the transfer portal because there is a thing there. Sometimes kids just don't work out at certain places, and that's fair. And I always hated that you had to transfer down to make sure you play the following year and you lose a year of eligibility if you transfer from D1 to D1. So I love the transfer portal. Like I really do.
I do too. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like it, but it is changing college football completely. I mean, completely now, because kids don't have to stay. For years and years, you had a coach would come to your house, recruit you. Hey, man, I love you. You fit my offense perfectly. You're exactly what I need. And then you say, well, heck, I'm going to go there. I'm going to get to play. I like this offense. It's a passing offense. And then you show up on campus and he leaves right after you get there. So, I mean, that's not really fair to the kids, and because they get stuck in that situation, and you never know, because you only went there, hopefully because you like the school, but secondly, because of your connection with that coach. So now it kind of evens itself out, players and you just look around college football and you see everybody jumping in the portal, but it changes the way college coaches can recruit now. I mean, it's a whole new ball game. I mean, you have to decide how many high school players you want to bring in now, because you can go look in that portal and say, okay, I need an offensive lineman. You go look in that portal and see what the best offensive lineman in that portal. And I think you're going to see teams rebuilding a lot quicker than they were ever able to do. And you could say, okay, well, they were doing that with JC transfers and those kind of things. That's true, but this is a different thing, because a lot of people that are in the portal are 5-year guys, guys who've been there 4 years. A lot of them have already graduated and they just want to go somewhere else and play, and that they want to just have fun. It's all about just that last year of, let me go somewhere where I can get on the field and do as well as I can do and showcase my talents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? And the reason why that's a good, people say, well, it's all about, it's not about the team. That's not true. These universities make millions and millions of dollars off of these players. Why can't a player do something that's going to improve his chances of maybe making the NFL, or maybe, like I said, maybe he already graduated, maybe he already has a job, but he wants to play one more year of college football. Why shouldn't a player be able to do that?
I agree. I call the sports, the transfer portal the great equalizer.
Yeah.
Because and I've been on this tangent for quite some time, being a former Division I athlete. So I'm not being biased. I think, the NCAA is this big bad monster per se. But I do understand that you as an athlete are at an extreme disadvantage. And we can go back to the genesis of what a student athlete was, crafted to be. Mm-hmm. It's a made up term. It's not a term based on anything from a, how can I put it? It was literally manufactured so you wouldn't have to pay players workers' comp. Mm-hmm. So when you get to understand the etymology of stuff like that, you start to understand that this stuff is contrived, man. And like you were saying, Mr. Alsandor, like when guys, you come in, you buy into the coach's pitch. Yeah, coach, I want to run through a wall for you. And then he leaves. Now you're stuck, Will Smith, when the last episode of Fresh Prince, when nothing was in the room no more. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting that, nobody demonizes the coach for leaving those situations. We've seen Pete Carroll do it to USC most recently.
Yeah.
Tore that program down. Mike Leach at Texas Tech. Nobody ever talks about the coach. But when the kid decides that, this is not the best situation for me, oh, well, you're not being loyal. You're not being down. And I understand, having coached and played D1 level, that you do want guys who want to stay in your program. But at the same time, if we want autonomy, if we want equality in that sense, we got to understand you got to give kids mobility, man, because it's only fair, man. It's only fair if you dedicate that much time and commitment. And
it's really worse than that. And the reason why I say that is because you touched on something really big there. And it makes, I like to say it's like the reason we have unions in the United States. Yeah. If everybody treated everybody the way they should be treated, you wouldn't need to have a union. You wouldn't have to join a new union to make sure you're compensated the way you're supposed to be compensated, that you're treated the way you're supposed to be treated. Now, and in the past, before you had something like this, where you could technically go somewhere and be blackballed. Some college could recruit you just to keep you from going to another college in the conference. Yes, and they could just stash you. With, we love this guy. And coaches are human beings too. And they have their favorites. You could get somewhere in this guy. You could see the, coaches in love with this guy. Hey, man, it ain't working out for me, whatever reason. This gives you an alternative. And, like I said, I know a lot of people that don't like it, but it's like anything else that's new. It's going to take a little bit of adjustment. I've talked to a bunch of the SWAC coaches this year about that. And they all agreed that, hey, we're having to change the way we do things. It requires us to rethink this, decide who we need to recruit and how many high school kids we do. And you see different approaches. Some coaches like to make it homegrown. They like to bring in all the high school kids and see them develop. But you got to be in a job where they're going to allow you to do that. If they're going to be saying, hey, man, look, you got to check out, man. You need to start winning some games.
Absolutely.
You can't do too much of that.
Yeah, and I've always said college coaches, NBA coaches, professional coaches, yeah, a little bit. But I've always said college coaches have to be the craziest people in the world, because you're basically relying on your livelihood, your paycheck on 18 to 22-year-old kids. And we all know that a kid out of high school is not really mature enough to understand the dynamics of playing collegiate sports. And this is why I like the transfer portal, because you can't go. They used to say, well, you can't go from D1 to D1. But as a college coach, I'm going to go get a kid that's been in college 2 or 3 years compared to a high school kid when my job is on the line. That's just how I feel about it.
Absolutely.
Well, and a lot of the guys that are in the portal today, it's not really that much of a gamble anymore. Like they used to say when you take some of the JC guys, that's kind of a gamble because you don't know if they're going to come in and stay. You don't know if they're going to go to class. You don't know if they're going to do what. Most of these guys are established somewhere. They've played somewhere already. They got a track record. Like I said, it's almost like opening a catalog and you can pick out what you're looking for. I mean, it's just you can see the size, weight, and then you can go back and look at the film and see what they did at whatever college they were at. Yeah. So I like it. I think it's just gonna take a while for everybody to adjust to it and kind of figure out exactly how it works for their team.
Yeah, that, and when you coupe that with the new NIL thing, it's just a new normal that's been established when it's always been coaches in university get all the benefits, agreement or partnership, quote unquote. You know what I mean? And so and me and Will have talked about this before when the NIL was hinted to be a thing. And we're just saying it's long overdue because Mr. Alsandor, you touched on it as well.
Oh, hey, man, Butch, please, Butch.
All right, okay. All right. So let me say why I say Mr. Alsandor. We talked a little bit about this backstage. It's because when we were in high school, me and Will in high school, our team went to the state football tournament, and back then this was before social media, guys. So, so everybody knew Giff Nielsen and they knew Butch Alsandor. So if they come to your school for your team of the week, you were the equivalent of 1,000 likes on Instagram. It's the same thing.
Oh, it was a pretty cool thing because the whole school would be out there watching and
absolutely
concert and stuff. And
absolutely. And the principal's out there. Y'all better be on y'all best behavior. We got 10, 11 coming through. So I called him sir because, Mister, is because in my 16-year-old mind, I remember our team went to the football championship state tournament. We played against Midland Lee, and we lost like 42-21. They had like Cedric Benson.
But they had Cedric Benson. Yeah,
they had Cedric Benson, one of the greatest running backs in Texas history. You know what I'm saying? We had the unfortunate pleasure to play against him. But I just remember when he came to the school, we all just went, we was like, oh, he looked like The Rock. Like, because you had glasses on and stuff. So in our 16-year-old eyes, we was like, dang, that's the dude on TV. Yeah. So I'm sorry. So it's a little bit of 16-year-old from 38.
I put a college football picture on social media today for the Throwback Thursday, and that's what everybody's saying. I got so many Rock comments.
hey, why are you talking about that? I think I found that picture. Hold on, let me see.
No. There you go.
I found that picture.
Oh, that's so funny.
Where is this at? This is your high school?
That's McNeese.
Man, I hope
no,
he went to guy probably stayed back a couple of years if that's high school.
That is hilarious.
That was at McNeese State University.
McNeese, man. I played against McNeese, man. I went to Stephen F. Austin. So I've been there, man. Yeah, I've been there. That's crazy. And it as Hoop was saying, it's crazy. There's a small world in the sports community. We were 16 at the time, and now, I'm pushing 38. You're already 38, Hoop. And here we are, a guy that we got to see on TV as kids, and now we're getting the chance to interview you. So it's just, sports is a great, great thing for anybody who doesn't understand it. I hope I hope they're understanding what's happening right now. Me right now, I'm flabbergasted. I'm kind of, I want to say emotional, but just shocked, I guess you can say is the word. So,
well, I'm glad we could do it, man. Anytime that you just give me a shout. You know how to get in touch with me now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hope and I want to say too.
Go ahead.
And I think Butch touched on a good thing too about what Charles McClellan is pushing the conference because so Butch, if you don't know, I played basketball at Prairie View. I played from 05 to 07, and Charles McClellan was the AD when I was there.
Okay.
And one thing that Charles will always tell us is like we're looking to boost PV. We're going to get bigger and better. And under his tutelage, we won our first SWAC championship, 2009. And we had like less than stellar, let me put it that way, facilities to work with. Mm-hmm. But Charles was always about pushing forward. Another guy he brought in was Ashley Robinson, who was the AD after him. And Charles happens to be the AD at Jackson State right now, who brought in Deion Sanders. So you kind of see that trickle-down effect of Charles's leadership because he went over to Texas Southern, brought in great success bringing in Mike Davis from Indiana, and he had great success with that basketball team. So it's fun and it's good to see great leadership it come to the forefront now, as far as the SWAC is concerned. And so I do wanted to kind of build on what you just, giving Charles kudos on, obviously being the commissioner now. But I remember when he was just an athletic director, and he's always had that forward-thinking mentality.
But he always had the mentality of trying to do it the right way, and trying to build a winner. And that's what's going on. The SWAC has a reputation. The SWAC has been years and years of history. When you look at all the players that went through there and played in the NFL, excuse me. But what he's trying to do is, even make it bigger. Even bring more attention to it. And you mentioned Ashley Robinson. I love Ashley because he's one of those guys, like you said. It's good to see good people do well and have good things happen to them. And Ashley goes over to Jackson State, and then Deion Sanders decides he wants to coach college football. And the next thing you know, they're liking college football. I saw a thing of all the FCS schools, Jackson State was like in the top 3, if I remember this right, in attendance this year.
Yeah,
that's huge. I mean, that's huge. We probably did 3 of their games, and off the top of my head, I can't remember which game it was now. But they were trying to set the attendance record. They had 58,000 people at that game. I mean, it was
unreal.
It's working, and you see that, and I think that's just going to continue to build from there. When you see people like Hugh Jackson over at Grambling now, and because they have so many connections. I was watching, not to go too far off of this, but I was watching the NFL channel one day, the NFL Network, and the coach from Minnesota, what's his name? I forget. The guy that just got fired from Minnesota.
Mike Zimmerman, I think.
Yeah, Zimmer. And he was on doing a press conference, and his phone rings, and he looks at his phone and he turns his phone off. But he just hit the sound. He didn't hit so it rings again. And he said, "Hold on, fellas, I'm gonna have to take this for a second." And he goes, "Hey, no, look, I'm in the middle of a press conference now, but I'll call you right back." It was Deion. He goes, "That was Deion. I tell Deion I'm in a press conference." I think that's one of the things that these guys have. Not only does, Deion's a Hall of Famer. I mean, everybody knows Deion. Everybody likes Deion. But they can also tap into any of this stuff that they want to tap into. I mean, you just think about all the knowledge and all the expertise they have on speed dial. Just press a button on your phone.
That's fair.
And you can get whoever you want to talk about whatever you want. And visiting with them, they used a lot of that to come up with their defensive scheme and their offensive scheme this year. And it's just kind of cool. I mean, it just really, and I think in the long run, you're going to have even more players from the SWAC now getting into the NFL. Because, I know everybody says with the combine, you get to see everybody, but now you're getting to see a lot more of them. You're getting to hear a lot more about them. And if Deion Sanders picks up the phone and calls any NFL team, "Hey, I got so-and-so here, who's an outstanding defensive end. He can play on the next level." They got to listen.
I agree.
You have to. And I've spoken about this. I'm going to come back to that. But I think the attendance record was either Alabama A&M or Homecoming. I don't know. I can't remember who they played.
It could have been Alabama A&M because we did that game too, and we did the homecoming game, if I'm not mistaken. But I know we did Alabama A&M because Jackson State, they destroyed them. That defense was just
open up the floodgates, and that's what the offense was. That's the offense everybody was hoping to see from
at the
Jackson
time.
State.
It was the number 1 offense against the number 1 defense. And it just wasn't even, my God, it just got out of hand so quick. I mean, I couldn't believe it. We're calling the game. You're trying to, what's happening here? I kind of felt Glass. He just didn't have the protection. That kid's going to be a good quarterback.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback. Absolutely.
He's really, really good. When you're doing games like that, blowouts like that, how do you keep yourself? How do you keep yourself entertained?
That's a good question.
Your co-host.
That's a good question, Will. That's a really good question because what I did, perfect example, I did a basketball game last week, Texas Southern versus Alabama A&M, and Texas Southern ended up winning big. And I go into every game, and I have a ton of notes, way more than I could ever possibly use. But when you do stumble into one of these games that aren't very close, you start reaching back into a lot of this stuff and a lot of knowledge about some of the players and stuff. And last week the game was so far and it was good. At one point, the Houston mayor, Sylvester Turner, had just walked by to wave and tell me hi and stuff like that. And I said, well, hold on. So we brought him on for a couple of minutes near the end. So you still have to do whatever you can, to keep the game interesting, to keep people engaged. But it's a lot more difficult at that point when one team is so far ahead.
Yeah. It's funny you cover TSU because one of my players I had in AAU was John Walker III, man, and it's good to see him do well at Texas Southern, even though that's my sworn rival to the end of the times. You know what I mean? I'm about to put my PV hoodie on right now because I feel disgusted talking about TSU. But no, in all seriousness,
he came from A&M, and he's a good player. But they are really a good team. I just hope they can get through. Let me put it this way: if they get through the tournament, because anything can happen in a tournament.
Absolutely.
That's what's bad about not having a automatic bid going to the winner of your conference tournament. And even though right now I think they're in third place, but they're very close. They're in striking distance, and they lost a couple of games on the road at Southern and at Grambling that they probably shouldn't have lost. But I feel like if that team gets in there, if they finish anywhere 1, 2, or 3, that's the team everybody knows they got to beat. I mean, they went last year. They have some incredible athletes on that team. I mean, they can go like 8 or 9. I mean, I think coach just mixes up the starting lineup just to keep everybody happy because they got that many players that can really take it and go with it. So it'll be interesting to see how that conference tournament goes this year. It's going to be fun to watch.
And the fact they beat Florida at Florida by 15, that was
that wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, and it wasn't even close as that. Just I watched that game to get prepared for the last couple of games I did, and it really wasn't that close.
Yeah.
There's a kid, Yahuza Rosas, for Texas Southern, and he just went nuts. And there's another guy, Carl Nicholas, who's also local. I think Carl's from Pearland.
Pearland.
Yeah, I mean, he is. It is so much fun watching those guys, man.
Yeah.
They really move up and down the court, and it's just great defense. I mean, they smother you. I mean, they all over the court. Any team that goes to play Texas Southern, their first concern has to be what can we do to get the boards, because they do such a good job on the boards.
Great job.
Yep.
And I think Carl Nichols went to Stephen F. Austin and then transferred over. He went to
sound like me.
I want to say he went to Manville High School. One of those.
Dawson.
He went to Dawson. He went to
Dawson. Yes, Pearland.
He went to Dawson. And the best thing about Texas Southern's men's basketball team, they have 5 starting seniors who are like 21, 22 years old. And that's why I try to tell kids, when you're 18 going to college, you're playing against grown men who've been through the system 2 to 3 years already. So Texas Southern is a very, very scary team if they can get to the tournament, because they have seniors. And seniors mean a lot when you come from a mid-major.
And these guys are tournament tested. They got guys who Gresham played all the way to the Final Four at U of H. There's another kid played at Hartford and played in the first round, lost to Baylor. I mean, it's just it's a good mixture. And like I said, it'll be very interesting to see how they do in the tournament.
Yeah, I'm with it. And I want to say this. Usually the chat has been very interactive. I don't know what's going on today. Maybe they're scared to ask questions.
They in here though.
They're here, man. So y'all make sure y'all like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'm gonna go back to this about the attendance thing, and then Coach Zimmerman, Deion Sanders calling, and the pressure that Shedeur faces. And I've always talked about this in a lot of my videos. The pressure that Shedeur faces, being the son of one of the most recognizable football players ever. Did you get a chance to kind of feel him out and see? Because I hear a lot of people talk about his maturity and his understanding of the moment and understanding who he is and whatnot. Did you get a feel of that you kind of get that feeling from him?
Well, we talked to Coach Sanders a lot about just that, because there's a extreme amount of pressure put on a freshman quarterback anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But you're a freshman quarterback and your dad is Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, we did several of their games, 3 or 4 of them. So we had a lot of time to talk to Coach Prime, as likes to be called, about that. And it was really kind of cool because he said, what he expressed was how special this is for him to have not only Shador, but have his other son also, Shiloh,
Yep.
on the team. And he said, and so one time I asked him, I said, well, Coach, how, where's the line? How do you become dad and how do you become coach, and where's the line? And he said, like, well, they kind of understand when we're on the field. They know where I'm coming from. But he said, the best thing about this is I get to spend one-on-one time.
Yeah.
He said, like, whether it was Sunday night, every Sunday night, Shiloh and I may go out to dinner, or Shador and I go out to lunch during this day. And he said, I give them, they want, he's their dad. But everybody wants a part of Dion. They want Dion's attention. So he said the cool thing about this is he gets to spend that one-on-one time with them. And think about it. If you were doing this with your two sons and you're winning football games and it's fun and you're getting all this attention, I mean, it's great. And it's something that, it's going to be part of them for a lifetime. You think about it, it's memories they're going to have for a lifetime. This experience that they're going through together right now. But he's aware of that. And it's one of the things when he was talking about Shador, he said it's just incredible his maturity for his age of coming in being a freshman quarterback. And he said, yes, it helped him get there in the spring, get a chance to go through spring training with the team, get a chance to meet them, for them to know him and see what he's all about. But the way he picked up everything so quickly, and then his poise on the field. I mean, that's the thing. Anytime you watch them play, talent is obvious, but what's there is his poise under fire. No matter what's going on, he's always been, calm, cool, and collected in that situation. And so, it's a great matchup, and it's worked out well. And I don't think Coach could be happier about the way it's worked out with his two sons there with him.
I agree. You as a coach, like, and me and Will are products of father coaches scenarios. So we understood at a young age the balance between your dad being a coach, influencer, or what have you, and how that permeates to how you are expected to perform and the respect level you show and what have you. Yeah, it is a very precious bond with that, because you got to understand early at a young age that your dad is going to give you a little bit of favorability, but if you're messing up, he's going to sit you down. He's going to embarrass you. You know what I mean? So,
my goodness.
I guess it's funny. We got a lot of applied knowledge in that perspective. And I'm sure that Shiloh and Shador can definitely co-sign that notion that expectation, because you talk about it at home, you talk about it off camera. But then when all the guys are around, your dad's going to be a different iteration of himself, because obviously I'm not dad no more. I'm coach.
Yeah, he's coach. So,
but it's still a special time just to go through that.
It is. And you just learn a different level of respect for your father, having been under his tutelage and understanding what he means to everybody and not just you in a one-on-one situation. So I would love to interview them on that dynamic, because it's a very special thing. And a lot of people didn't get to experience that, but me and Will and myself definitely have seen that on a smaller level, obviously. But yeah.
Well, and they have their routines. They'll walk the field together before the game. Shador and Coach Prime, and they have those things they do. You'll see him come over the coach after a big play on the field and stuff like that. And I just thought it was kind of cool. I just thought it was really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it, because not too many guys in the world who has kids, who have sons, can say, you know what, I coached my son at possibly the highest level that he can get besides being a professional. And then not only to have one son, you got both of your sons there. So that's a very, very special thing for anybody who loves their children like Coach Sanders. He seems like a great, great family man. He always preaching about it, consistency, excellency, all those good things. So like Hoop Jargon said, I would love to just kind of hear that conversation, just kind of a candid conversation, not even on camera, just to kind of hear them have their conversations as a father, son, and as a coach player. I would love to hear that.
And I'll add this. I've had the privilege to interview and hang with LeVar Ball. So I live out here in Southern California now. Obviously Houston native, and hanging with LeVar and just hearing the way he raised LaMelo, Lonzo, and LiAngelo. He raised them like to be tough individuals who could endure anything.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, he would play them up when they were young, like they were like 12, 11 years old. He would put them in 16U in AAU because he wanted them to play way up. And I know there's a lot of people who think that the kids don't follow the tutelage of LeVar, but I seen it with my own eyes. When I went up there, it was in late July. He brought us to the mansion out there in Chino Hills. I live in Pico Rivera, which is like East LA. You know, it's probably about an hour and some change out there to Chino Hills. But I went out there, calls Lonzo up. Lonzo comes up there and talks to me and another content creator, Ball Facts. So I say that to say that some people think that there's fissure in the family. It's not the case. But when he just explained the way he raised them and the way how he raised them, like they had no choice but to be great. I can't help but parallel that with Coach Prime, because some guys just have a vision for their kids and they hold them to a high standard. And basically you have that love and you have that support that they're going to be good no matter what they do in life. And so I just can't help but to see the parallel when we start talking about what Coach Prime has done with Shiloh Shador and also his daughter who plays for the basketball team at Jackson.
Yeah.
Because I definitely do see the parallels in both of those styles of raising kids.
Well, and you see that also with Shaq. His son is now
Absolutely.
at Texas Southern, and his daughter is at Texas Southern.
Absolutely.
So it's going to go on. But while you were talking about that and you were describing some of the things that went on, the first thing popped into my mind was Tiger Woods.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was the same thing with Earl Woods. Some of the stuff he put him through, people would say, well, that's kind of like, borderline child abuse. But you know what? You see the talent. The kid has a hunger for it. It wasn't like he was making him hit balls. I mean, he wanted to do it. But he was preparing him in the best way he could possibly prepare him.
Yep. Or Richard Williams, for that matter.
Yeah. Exactly. Same thing.
And I've always said that people, it's basically the old saying, people fear what they don't understand. So they don't understand when they see a black man speaking life and productivity and excellency into their children. And it scares folks. And it's just because they don't understand what's happening. They don't understand the moment. But I will say this, like I said, Dion and his kids seem to have a great understanding of who they are. They know what they're going to do because he says they're not new to this. They've been doing this since they were babies. So
yeah, he coached their high school team. So
Trinity Christian, I believe the name of the school.
Trinity Christian out here somewhere in Dallas, which I'm
DeSoto, I believe.
Not too far from now. Hoop Jargon, you told me you had some questions off stage. I've been kind of hogging the questions, so you can go ahead. Get yours.
I got a question, kind of off cuff. Are you always in presentation voice mode, Mr. Alsandor? You got like a ready to go. Wait, there's more voice.
That's kind of a good question because it becomes, especially when you start doing a lot of play-by-play stuff, because you think about how long a football game is and all that. But I was at a school here in Houston a few weeks ago, and there were young kids, there were 5th, 6th graders, and one girl asked me, she said, "Did you always talk like that?" And I said, "No." I said, "I grew up in Louisiana." I said, I had a bit like everybody else. I had a big Cajun accent. You do the whole 9 yards. But I said, just the full story. Hoop was talking about this a second ago. When you're coming out of high school, like I was being recruited by a lot of people, but I grew up in a very small town, so I wasn't very exposed. I was very naive. I didn't even want to participate in the process, so to speak. I only went on like 3 of my 5 visits. I didn't even go anywhere. So I ended up going to McNeese. I agreed to go to Tulane. But then a guy that I played high school basketball with, he was on the basketball team. He was a couple of years older than me. He went to McNeese on a scholarship. And he told me, he said, "Hey man, look, you don't have a car, you come to McNeese, you can use my car, man. You can use my, you do all this stuff." I was so naive. I never thought about looking at the curriculum, looking at all these things that you should be looking at before you go to a school. I'm like, Kevin said I can use his car, so I'm gonna go. That son of a gun, I never would use that car, not one time.
Never even
one single time. But my point is that you have to kind of go through that and do what you need to do to be prepared to go there. So I get there. I wanted to be a newspaper writer. Mm-hmm. There was no newspaper curriculum at all. I mean, the closest thing they had to it was radio and TV broadcasting. So I got into that, and because I played college ball there, I got to do an internship. No, well, not necessarily for that, but I got to do an internship at the TV station. It introduced me to that. And because I played college ball there, it got my foot in the door. It got me a job. But I still talk like I was from Louisiana. So, I mean, it's something that, so this little girl, to go back to what I was talking about, she asked me about that. And I said, no, I used to have to work. There's words I couldn't pronounce. I said, I'd be in the car riding around by myself, going somewhere, and I'm practicing the work. Because she said, that's what I want to do. I want to be a reporter. I said, well, you have to practice all the time on your own. Do the, whatever you can to try to get better than that. And I couldn't stand what I sound. I still can't listen to myself.
Yeah.
I really can. And a lot of people, I'll do a game, and I always go back to critique what I'm doing, because everybody can always do better. You can always do better. But I won't do it the next day or the day after that, or certainly not that night, because if I would be so critical that I'd have to turn it off. So what I do now is I'll wait a couple of weeks before I go back and look at a game, because it gives me a different perspective, and I can say, oh well, you didn't do too bad, right? This is good.
So
it's
true.
not negative.
That's so true.
And I've always been like that, and so that's kind of you learn to kind of. But I'm always trying to get better, always trying to improve, always trying to, even after all this time, always trying to pick up something that might be able to help you. And one of the things that happened once you start, I guess I should mention this, because I was extremely fortunate. When I was in Lake Charles, after I played at McNeese, the TV station I worked for there was the 172nd market. Well, the bigger the number, the smaller the station it is. Mm-hmm. So I was. That's just,
I've never known that.
That's funny. That is so
great.
Funny.
That is great. I would have never even thought about that.
That's how it works. And so
that's a gem.
Anchor I was working with, and her agent saw me on the tape with her, and she says, hey, look, Butch, you need to give my agent a call. She said she'd be interested in representing you, and I'm like, well, that would be cool if she's not taking any money, because I don't have any money. You also don't make any money when you work in the 172nd market. So she called me up and she goes, no, don't worry about that. That's not how it works. We get you a job, and once we get you a job, we'll take our 10%, or I guess it ended up, she knocked it down to 7%.
There you go.
So
true negotiator.
Whatever it is, they get theirs out of it. Well, she took me from 172 to like 21, which was Baltimore, which is like unheard of, So needless to say, I got there. I was so far over my head with some of the things, because now you go from, I might have been in Lake Charles, maybe doing a live shot at a McNeese game, to my first story in Baltimore was live on Ted Turner's yacht. Turner Jr. was skippering the yacht in the Patapsco River. So needless to say, my eyes were probably that big on that, trying to figure out. And I'm like, awesome. And then why don't you give me a couple of sailing terms to throw into this, because I don't know nothing about this. So that's kind of what it is, but that's why you continue to work, and you always, continue to work. I got there, and it might have been a different world, but, I was working at it the whole time I was there, and then so I was very fortunate, because I go from 21 to Houston, which was a 9 or 10 at the time when I got here. So if everybody strives to work in a top 10 market, is what you want to do, because one, that's where the money is.
Yeah.
Two, it's a different kind of ball game, what you're covering and the things that you're doing. It's
great knowledge.
That's crazy. I'd have never even thought about it. But what's crazy is because I do not, man, we talk all the time about this. I do not like my voice. And to hear you say that, because I have the Houston slang, like I suppress it so much when I'm on live. I'm just like, but it's not me. It's really not me. I want to say man, you know what I'm talking about, all this other stuff. So it's crazy that you say that. You've been doing this for years and you're still critiquing yourself. About your voice. And so I do that all the time. I go back and listen to my shows and all this other stuff, man. But so it's crazy that you say that. But we got our first comment of the day, Mr. Marcus McWheely.
Can I add this before you go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I'm the same way. I cringe listening to everything I ever put out. And my girl kind of she finds it funny. I talk to myself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I go and rehearse like rebuttals to certain things that are like in the sports world that I could possibly say on my show or what have you. I practice my rebuttals and I say them verbally.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that lands in the weird category, as it were. But I feel it's important because I have to be cunning, linguistically ready to go when somebody hits me with something that I'm not necessarily ready for. Because I got the bug. Like I do that all the time, and I cringe so much, and I do over critique myself because I think my vocabulary is fine, but I see those moments when it's not so great, and I really do cringe a lot. So it makes me feel more normal to see that a Butch Alsandor does the exact same thing, having done this over 35 years, because I definitely feel that, as myself.
The best thing about that is what I learned how to do there, when we got to Baltimore, it was a big enough market where they had consultants come in and they actually worked with you and got you, helped you, to do different things. But what I learned about that was I just started looking around at people that I liked and taking things from them that were me. Now, you can't try to be someone else because that usually doesn't work. You have to be yourself, but there are things you can take from other people that you like and you can use. And when I got to Baltimore, there was an older guy who was our sports director, and he, didn't use the prompter where you just read everything off the prompter. He had his little notes. But what I noticed about him was it was such an easy conversation. It's like he was talking one-on-one with you sitting at home on your sofa. Yeah. And, and I thought that was so cool. So, that's one of the things, Hoop, I think I even today look around and see, okay, this guy does this that I like, but hey, this wouldn't work for me. That would, that would look stupid if I did that. That wouldn't work. Yeah. So that's kind of the process, you kind of go through.
Agree, because I'm a salesman by trade, so my oration skills definitely is my paycheck. Yeah. So I always try to see how I come off to people, and then when you permeate this to the YouTube realm, it's like another iteration of that same self-critique and what have you. So I think one of the guys I learned from is Barry Warner from the Houston radio circuit. Well. Man, Barry, I met him at Jake's Sports Bar in Houston maybe about 5-6 years ago. Mm-hmm. And Barry invited me to the ESPN studios, and he showed me his method is called peeling back the onion. And this is just funny how my life is so random like this. So I met him. Again, me, LeVar Ball. It was random. Yeah, random. This is kind of what happens to me. But Barry Warner showed me, some of the tricks of the trade, and peeling back the onion is one of his biggest things. And throwing the teaser, leaving out, coming back in after a break, things of that nature. So it's good to see advisement, because Barry Warner style, I can never mimic that. He has his own little thing. He's kind of like wonky all over the place. That's not really my style, but his structure is something that I took away. So I think that was a great comment.
And since you brought up the Barry, the legend in himself,
absolutely
a quick Barry story, because you'll get a kick out of this. For years, I spent so much time in Atlanta because the Astros were always playing the Braves that I got to know my way around. When I first got to Atlanta, I'm like, every doggone street is named Peachtree Street. I can't. I kept getting lost, trying to get from the hotel to the ballpark, and so every year the Braves would upset the Astros. No matter what happened, we would lose to the Braves. They just couldn't get over that hump. It was like a little 3-year stretch or something. And I'll never forget this. It was after a home game and another disappointing loss to the Braves. Or it might have been that, you know what? It was when Randy Johnson was with the Astros. And the Padres beat them in that playoff series. And it was so unexpected.
Yeah.
Barry is fearless. This is the story. I doubt that. I wonder if I run into him, I'm going to remind him about this. I doubt if he even remembers this. But you got to understand, they lose to San Diego. They weren't supposed to lose. It was kind of a big thing. You know, Barry goes in there. We all got to do these interviews because that's the downside. You know, you're in there when they win. You're in there when they lose. And you got to ask the tough question. Well, you know Barry, so he's not afraid to ask the tough question.
No, and so never.
He's right in front of Craig Biggio's locker. Craig walks in front, and Craig's one of the best guys, and you'll get it from here. He walks right in front of Craig Biggio's locker. As soon as Craig walks up, he goes, "Okay, go ahead," which is telling us to start asking the question. And Barry, because he's got that thick radio voice in it. Well, Craig, how does it feel to choke again? And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it's just like, he might have not said choke, but he said, like, how does it feel not to hit the ball again or whatever? I mean, I'm like, oh my goodness. And to Craig's credit, he stood up there, composed himself for a second, and goes, well, we were trying to hit the ball. But I'm like, oh man, that's kind of like, Barry's pretty aggressive with that kind of stuff. I love him though. He's a good guy.
Fearless is the right word for Barry Warner.
Yeah, he is. He is. And I love what you said about that. You can see some things that you can, you see some of the things is not you, but hey, there's some of this I can use.
Yeah, absolutely.
There it is.
Throw that story out there. I didn't know if you even knew Barry Warner. Obviously, Houston radio people know each other, but he taught me a lot with even like 90% of it I could never use with my personality.
small sports world.
Small sports world, man.
And then, so we got a question from the chat. Marcus McWillie says, "Good afternoon, fellas. How do y'all feel about JSU not playing in the Heritage Bowl?" I did a video about this yesterday, so I'll let whoever want to take it first.
About JSU not playing where?
Not playing in the Southern Heritage Bowl. They pulled out of the Southern Heritage Bowl
to play FAMU.
Yeah. I don't know what they did, but from what I hear, it's about money. It's about other things, and I did a speculation video about them maybe want to go play a bigger FBS school. But from what I heard, it was about a money thing because they just did the SWAC Classic or something like that. So
yeah, man, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I know, the kickoff open the game when Jackson State played Florida A&M this year. Mm-hmm. What was I forget what it was called early in the year. They're going to start alternating that a little bit and kind of get more of the teams. Or was it Grambling and Tennessee? You're getting me mixed up now. I think it was Grambling and Tennessee State and Eddie George's team. They're good. So I don't know. I don't want to really touch that if I don't really say the wrong information here. I'm not sure about that.
I don't remember the name of the Jackson State FAMU game. It was one of the first games of the season. It was on.
I think it was a classic, but I think the game that they're going to have every year may be the game that Tennessee State played Grambling, and but I forgot what that was called. Yeah, they're going to have to, I think they were talking about it's not going to be one team all the time. They're going to alternate it. And so which will give everybody exposure. It'll be a good deal for that.
Yeah, and that was the week before they played Jackson State. Tennessee State played Jackson State in the Southern Heritage Bowl. I don't know the name of it off top. Golly, because I think I think Grambling State went to 0-3 after that game. Good Lord, what is the name of that? I got nothing. I'm at a blank. I'm at a blank.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man.
You're good.
Well, I would say that is more or less a indicator of Dion understanding what his leverage play is. It's like it's not worth the what they say, the juice not worth the squeeze in that situation. And having a season. I mean, you could say the spring season didn't count when they were 3-3. But at the end of the day, it's 2 seasons, so that's more tenure he has in the SWAC world, the HBCU world at large. So it's just something he don't see as profitable, and that's something he's not willing to indulge in. And we see again with the situation going to play at the the stadium out there with Birmingham.
Alabama, Birmingham, yeah.
Yeah, so it used to be where the SWAC championship game was. When Prairie View won, that's where we played at. So now they kind of inner working like, okay, this is a new phenomenon. This is a new ecosystem within itself. So if I'm just stepping back and just seeing the optics, I think that they're just trying to reconfigure ways to, optimize the money situation. And I guess the Heritage Bowl kind of took a L in that sense. That's the way I read the tea leaves, you know what I mean? So
hey, money talks, man. From what I read was Tennessee State usually got more of the profits, and with Jackson State moving over to play in the SWAC Classic, they are guaranteed to get a little bit more money than going over to play in the Southern Heritage Classic. So that's what I read. Don't quote me on that. I was not just something I read. I don't know if that was right or not. So one of the viewers, they big on Jackson State. So it is what it is, man.
Yeah. Well, he wants to see his team, showcased, and I don't blame him. But they're going to be all over the place next year. They're going to be on TV. It's just, right now, they're kind of like the premier team in the SWAC until somebody else comes and starts, doing what they did last year in the season throughout.
But it's going to be hard for any team to duplicate what Jackson State just did this past season, even with Hugh Jackson coming over to Grambling State, Eddie Robinson going over to Alabama State, which has great facilities, and they have
Bubba McDowell at Prairie View. See, y'all always leave Bubba McDowell out, man. I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm not gonna let y'all keep doing that to Bubba. Coach Bubba, former Houston Oiler, lovable Oiler.
Hey, Bubba got to do a lot of work at position. But
got to do a lot of work.
Let's be honest, man. So we're going pre predictions. You got Jackson State. FAMU is going to come back strong. You got Alabama State, and I think Alabama State has a lot of young kids who were freshmen and redshirt freshmen that played in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I think Valley gonna come muck it up too. Valley's gonna be.
They, I did that last game of this regular season with the Prairie View against Mississippi Valley State. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, Prairie View had already wrapped up. They were going to be in the SWAC championship game. They were already locked in and all that stuff. But it was still at their place. Mm-hmm. And Mississippi Valley came in and they beat them. And they beat them in an impressive type fashion. I mean, they did a heck of a job. So they got some young players there, and it may not happen next year, but just the fact that they could beat Prairie View at Prairie View in a situation like that, they got some skill players, and so that running back was outstanding. I mean, he was tremendous. So there are some teams that could step up there and surprise you. I mean, I look at Texas Southern; they made so much improvement in the second half of the season.
Yeah,
they
had no choice. They were so bad. You only can go up.
It was funny because that the Labor Day Classic, I mean, it was not very an impressive outing at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. It kind of shocked some people that it wasn't a closer game than it was, and that they didn't play better. But as the season went along, they made the change at quarterback, and that was huge. I mean, that made a big difference, and things started to click and started to happen a little bit. So they're going to be better than they
Jackson
ever
pretty good
have
game.
been. I think if Prairie View gets a quarterback to replace the kid that transferred in, Juwan Pass. Mm-hmm. If they get the right guy to replace him, they're going to be competitive. I don't know what's going on at Southern. Southern's changing coaches. Eric Dooley's going over there.
Yeah,
I do know Eric Dooley knows offense.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Southern has a lot of talented offensive players. I mean, they have some great running backs. We did 3 or 4 Southern games last year. I mean, it sounds like but we did a total of 16 or 17 games, the way it shook out. So, gentlemen, I'm looking at my phone. I got 10% left on battery here. So,
StreamYard to drain you real
apologize.
Good.
No, you're good. You're good. Well, let's jump to this question real quick. We don't want to, lose you. This guy, James Jack, appreciate you dropping in. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. He says, do you think the Brian Flores allegations can have any impact on black NFL coaches possibly going to HBCU? Seems like now that Hugh has come out with his story, is that GSU maybe. know
Well,
what he's trying to say.
I think it's, and I hope I'm right. I think it's going to have some impact in the NFL because he sounds like he's not doing this for a payday. I mean, he said, "Look, we'd ultimately like to have a jury a trial on this," and man, my goodness, I'm never a fan of the Rooney Rule because of this kind of thing. This was always a possibility. I mean, it's always been a good old boy network, and I don't know what the best way to do it, but just the way this came out, Brian Flores is like, man, my goodness, what else do I have to do? I've won 19 games the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Why aren't these guys interested in me? And here I am going to interview with these people, and they've already decided who they're going to pick. Now, from a legal standpoint, all they have to say is, well, that's not true. We were waiting. We were hoping that he'd come in here and wow us at the last second or whatever. But it's something, that it's coming from a guy like Brian, who's so accomplished as a coach, as a player. I just think that hopefully something will be done with this. I mean, I just hope that and they can tweak this thing, do something to where it's not, to where it doesn't seem like it's just a token gesture as far as interviewing with these teams.
Yeah, that was the whole purpose of the Rooney Rule. But we know people know how to get around certain things. I'm gonna leave it at that. We shall see, man. Hopefully that this comes out and there's more and more coming out with Hugh Jackson. And there was somebody, the 49ers tight end coach, he just got offered 60% less of his contract. So, the change and the more and more these type of things come out, the more and more it can be better. So, that's where I'm at with that.
Well, anytime you shine light on something that's kind of been in the darkness, it's always a good thing. I mean, it's somewhere, and for him, he's going to coach somewhere. It may not be in the NFL because, realistically with this lawsuit out there, he's not going to get much of an opportunity. I'd be shocked, but you never know.
You know how I look at stuff like this. I mean, you can't protest your way out of a network that is designed to be what it is. And I look at things realistically. I wish things were better, but wishing and hoping and protesting ain't gonna get it, in my opinion.
It's hard to beat the NFL. It's very, very hard to beat the NFL.
Let's have our own stuff.
But to have a guy, again, somebody like Flores bringing attention to it, someone who's accomplished, someone who's saying, hey, look, I'm not asking for anything special. Just give me the same shot, man. Look at what I've done. Look at how I relate to these players. Look at how I coach. Look at the staff that I put together. Look at what we've done. I mean, that's all he's saying. I mean, people are getting all crazy about the lawsuit, but what he's saying is, hey, man, give me a real shot at this.
That's exactly what he's saying. And it's not like he's had a very, very bad situation overall as far as team record. He won 8 of his last 9 games. He's done pretty
good.
How many guys do you know who get fired winning 8 of their last 9 games?
Well, I'm sure that had something to do with the fact that they were talking about the $100,000 per loss.
Yeah.
That's rough.
But you can get sideways with management. I understand that. I mean, you get that. That could be any job. That could be any job. But I guess my point is, okay, it didn't work out with this management group. This guy winning 19 games in the last 2 years should have been the first phone call for a lot of people.
A lot of people. You're absolutely right.
I get it.
Right. So before you get out of here, hopefully your phone doesn't die. Your biggest, I want to go 2 questions. Your biggest surprises this year in the SWAC for us football wise. Florida A&M come over, and then Bethune-Cookman is one that they lost a lot of close games. It wasn't like they were getting their butt kicked. They just couldn't seal the deal. And then your expectations for next year for as SWAC football.
It's funny you say that, Will, because that's exactly where I was going with Bethune-Cookman. We did probably 3 of their games, and man, in fact, we did the game that they won. They finally won. But you're right. They were all so close. And that was kind of a surprise because Terry Sims, he's another guy who has some ties to Houston. I got to visit with Terry when he first got. I guess he had just gotten there because I was doing some games for the Southland Conference at the time.
Okay.
And Bethune-Cookman was playing Southeastern Louisiana, so I got to talk to him a little bit before that game. And they were better than that record. They were a lot better than that record.
Absolutely.
But I just think it's going to be so much parity in the league next year. I mean, I would be surprised. One, because of what you guys were talking about earlier, the portal. It's just too easy to get well. It's too easy to go in there and find exactly what you need. But I just think everybody's up in their game. I mean, I really do. I just think that in the past, now everybody, you look at Alabama State, did you think they were going to fire the coach this year? I mean, I guess it's because of expectations, but he's done a pretty good job there. And he had some young kids, but now, and I don't want to put it all on Deion, but the bar has been raised.
Yeah. We call that the primetime effect.
Yeah.
The primetime
Absolutely.
effect. The primetime effect. Yeah. You have to, let me bring this back up. You have to, what they say, iron sharpens iron. You can't be still trying to do the same thing that you've been doing when Coach Sanders and his coaching staff are going out and getting a Travis Hunter, which shook up the world, who had ESPN like going crazy. And then you get Mr. Coleman, the 4-star recruit. So you have to step up your game or you're going to – and we know that, Jackson State is losing James Houston. They're losing I can't think of the DB name. I just did a video about him the other day.
Well, it's just a different ball game, and I just think it's all good though for the SWAC. And Hoop mentioned it earlier. You talk about what Dr. McClellan has done, and he went in there with a plan. He didn't just take the. I mean, I visited. We had lunch before he took the job. When he told me he was thinking about taking the job, and he talked a little bit about some of the things that he was planning on doing. So. It's just great to see it happen. It's just great to see it kind of, and hopefully it'll continue to build like it is.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give a quick funny story about Charles McClellan. This is some hoop insider right here.
Go ahead.
My senior year, my junior year, we lost to the University of Texas, but they had LaMarcus Aldridge, Boobie Gibson, and PJ Tucker. We lost by 71.
That ain't a loss. That ain't a loss.
Yeah, that's 2 losses combined. You know what I'm saying? We got spanked. And that same year, we lost to Louisville by 20. So we weren't a 71-loss team, but at that time, dissension kind of crept into the team, and we were kind of down morale from a morale standpoint. And I remember after the loss, we got back to Prairie View, and Charles was like, "You know what, guys? I sat down and did the math. If we would have just got a 35-second violation." The entire game and never took a shot, we'd have lost by 30. And he was dead serious. So it shows you how methodical his mind is.
That's hilarious.
Man.
That's hilarious.
That's 21 years old. I was not trying to hear that. When I got older, I was like, I understand where they came from. It's like y'all played so bad that if you just would have just conceded, you'd have had better results. But yeah, just show you how forward thinking Charles is, man. So I got to share that story.
That's freaking hilarious.
That's a true story.
That's freaking hilarious.
That's why I love Charles to this day, man. I love Charles to this day.
I'm not going to say what it is, but we played a team once when I was in college, and I'm not going to say what it is, but one of our coaches, we were actually losing at the half, and they had a horse that would run around every time they would score. That horse was running around, and so the defensive coordinator at halftime was telling us, "Fellas, you're getting your butts kicked. I mean, they're kicking you all over the field. But I tell y'all one thing, y'all are killing that damn horse. Wearing him out." The horse kept going around.
And these are the funny foxhole moments, man, that you don't always
sports,
get privy
man.
to.
That's what it is.
I'm telling y'all, you folks, y'all need to subscribe to these channels.
Absolutely.
Man. It's funny stuff, inside stuff. And I always told, man, college coaches are hilarious, man. Like my college coach, Coach
Danny
Casper.
Casper.
I thought he was one of the funniest dudes I ever met, but he was dead serious about everything he said. But 18 to 19-year-old, 20-year-old body. I'm just like, dude, you can't be serious right now. And so
He's the best.
I assume that a lot of coaches are like this, man.
No. So Butch, to give you some background, I went to Stephen F. Austin my freshman year. I redshirted. Will went to Blinn Junior College, and then he ended up going to Stephen F. Austin. So he got the same experience I had to start off with Coach Casper at Stephen F. Austin. Okay. That dude was the one-liner king. Undisputed. Undisputed one-liner king. Stuff we can't even share on the stream.
Exactly.
Oh my God, I got my head hurting, man. That's funny, man.
We haven't even touched any stories, but next time we do this, we'll have
absolutely
to, because I did something last week, and the guy was asking me, what all the stuff you've covered over all this time, what's the thing that you've enjoyed the most, or that meant the most to you? And I said it was going to the White House to interview the First Lady when Mrs. Obama was the First Lady.
Oh, wow.
Goes, why in the hell did you go to the White House? And so that was another story in itself. So next time we have more time, we can get into
Yeah. We got to definitely got to do it again. One more question. Your phone is probably at about 3% by now. Kevin Pryor says, do you think JSU will replace Tennessee State with the FBS school? And that's kind of the video I did the other day, and I was purely speculating, and I was hoping that they would pick maybe, because I'm so Houston, man. I'm H-Town to the day I even though I don't live there anymore, and I said maybe they can go play at a school like Rice, and a chance for these kids in the Houston area to experience what Jackson State is about. Because I say this because sports and basketball have me across this country. And I'm not a big traveler like that. But if you have a chance to go experience something because of sports, you do that. And if that's Jackson State, if that's FAMU, if that's Lane College, if that's Howard, anything like that.
Prairie View A&M University.
Prairie View is right outside of Houston, so we're not going to discuss that. But I'm hoping that Jackson State with one of these schools, a Rice or a Texas State, where somebody said that they're playing next year, or North Texas or something like that. What are your thoughts about that before you get out of
here? So he asked whether Jackson State should play the FBS?
Yeah, who do you think they should replace Tennessee State with?
Yeah, if
it's FBS school.
Man, it's like, that's the thing about, what's good about that? Normally you have a team that is an FCS team that is as good as Jackson State. You have a lot of these guys ducking them because, let's be for real. They could beat a lot of these mid FBS teams. Like last year they had Northeastern Louisiana Monroe.
They had them beat.
Yeah, they had them beat until the last couple of minutes of the game. So the mid part of that structure there, they could beat with. So it's very difficult to get that type of game because, they have enough athletes to where they can compete with them. And they should have won that game against Monroe. And it was in Monroe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So
7-12. 7-12.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's difficult to get those kind of matchups to the one you would like to see. Or even play a bigger school that are kind of down. I remember, that you could go in there and play somebody that's not, on their best. Even like a McNeese State went to Texas A&M and almost beat Texas A&M like 10 years ago or something. It was incredible. At Texas, they were like 5 minutes away from winning the game. So you catch a team like that. Like when I came out of college, LSU was not very good at the time. When I came out of high school. They were struggling at the time. And so, they weren't going to play some of these in-state schools because it takes away from your recruiting.
Absolutely.
In Jackson State, everybody knows that the athletes Dion is bringing in there. So it's going to be difficult, though. But the other side of that is you get so much attention with that game. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a win-win for most of them. But I just think of some of these bigger schools, if there's a chance that they might lose, because you don't want to lose your pre-conference games, because then once you get in conference games, if you're in a tough conference, man, that loss is that much more. It hurts that much more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And that's what I try to tell fans. the casual fans that college sports is definitely a business side that you don't get a chance if you're just because these coaches again to win your conference. You may go and play, especially in basketball. I'm not a big football guy, but especially in basketball, you go play all these guaranteed games. You're not expected to win the game, but your job is to try to win your conference. And with Jackson State, I think there are a lot of people that are dodging them. I think there are a lot of teams who are like, you know what, we don't want to take that chance of being that team that loses to Jackson State to basically boost their popularity right now because everybody knows who Jackson State is. Like my man DJ Wrong Cut, who's in here right now, he said when people see that J hat on and doing the recruiting,
it's a threat
at the table. He said it. He was one of the first people I've seen said. He said that when you see that J hat on the table, you might want to be concerned.
Yep. Well, I mean, they're definitely on everybody's radar now. I mean, I don't think there's any two ways about that. I mean, and it's not only what they've done on the football field, but I look at Coach Sanders, what he's done off the field. I mean, he's done so much. I mean, over at Alcorn, when they were having trouble, couldn't get a full-time trainer on the field. He's like, guys, call me. If I can do anything to make that happen, I'll help you do it. He brought in it was Eddie. Was it Eddie George? No, it was Michael Strahan. Michael Strahan, who has a deal with Men's Warehouse, got travel attire for the entire team. I mean, it's the whole package. It's kind of everything is kind of on the upswing.
Agreed.
I love it, man. So we don't want to. I know we're pushing an hour and 20 right now, and Butch, you say your phone might be, closing out at some point. We'll just close it out here. Any final words, Mr. Alsandor? Butch, hey, that's kind of weird.
You said don't call him that.
Yeah, so I say
Butch.
Any closing words, thoughts, man? I really appreciate you coming on because Absolutely. You did not because time is something that we can't get back. We really can't get back, and you took your time out to come speak to some guys that used to see you at 16 years old.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for having me. And it's a lot of fun. Just sitting back kicking it like this, and I didn't hear my refrigerator fall, so I'm hoping that. Just so the people know, I'm up in my bedroom because I was having a refrigerator put in, so they were working on that downstairs. So hopefully that worked out well too.
Yeah, I love it, man. Hope Jar, you got anything to say? Anything you want to close out with?
Yeah, I do, man. I see we've been 30 plus strong in here, so it's been a good stream. I just want y'all to appreciate good content out here, man, because we got a new swell of attention to HBCUs. It's something that's always been something that I cared about since about 20, 21 years old. And so I'm glad to see it come to the forefront now with Coach Prime starting this new economy, as we said, the Coach Prime effect. So I think these conversations are important to have a guy like Butch who has done the media level at all levels and now is more focused on the HBCU realm. You're getting the real straight from the source. So you're not guessing on these kind of things. And so y'all support good content. Y'all support good content creators. You support good broadcasters like Butch, because this would builds the whole thing up. This builds interest. This builds verifiable interest where it registers on like the Nielsen reports. It registers on like the social media reports. And so just keep supporting it, man. And I'm happy to be a person in this. As shout out to SWAC Buzz says, I got my SWAC hours being a former player and coach at the HBCU SWAC level. And this is what I love to do. And I'm glad people care about it now on this granular level. So thank you for having this stream, Will. Thank you, Butch, for being a part of this, because this is just a part of building Black media as a whole. And everybody got their own part to play in it. And I'm just happy to be where I am in this and hoping for it to go forward.
Well, yeah, there it is right there, folks, man. Again, all you folks, y'all need to make sure y'all subscribe to everything. Go ahead.
My speaker's going out. I can hear it going down.
Maybe, yeah, I know. I think it's shutting down.
A phone on his last leg.
Appreciate
it, Will. Thank you, man. And like I said, just give me a shot whenever you want me back, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, we definitely.
Absolutely.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I definitely appreciate it. You folks, y'all stay tuned. Again, man, Hoop Jargon are continuing trying to bring you insiders inside information that you may not get from anywhere else. We know people somehow, some way, and it's weird because I sit back sometimes and I don't really know nobody, but then again, yeah, I do. Like my dad knows every freaking body in the world somehow, some way. Really don't know what he did. My dad might have been a drug dealer at some point. But
I might need to take that up.
He knows
Big
everybody,
Meech,
man.
Larry Hoover.
He knows everybody that Houston wise, just somehow, somewhere he knows people. So this was, man, Butch was amazing, great insight into SWAC, into overall sports, basketball, football, whatever it may be. And so, we reached out to him, or I reached out to him and just asked him, hey, man, can you come on? And for a guy who's been doing this for so long, for him to say yeah to, I'm nobody, trying to build a YouTube channel, and I let Hoop Jargon know about it, and we was like, bet, let's do it. So here we are giving y'all great insight, a guy who's called almost every important SWAC football game this past season. And y'all need to hit that like button, man. Hit that thumbs up button.
Hit the Cash App button.
Cash App, Super Chat, all that other stuff. And then we had a lot of people in here today, over 30. Yeah, over 30 at one point. And it's weird because a lot of folks is like being shy. I don't know if it's because it was Butch or who, they may not know who it was, but normally it's like people being very, very active, which I'm not tripping as long as you're watching. But don't be shy, man. We're going to get to your questions at any time, any point. Butch was going in, so we didn't want to interrupt whatever he was saying. He was going in.
Mm-hmm. And just to give you context, last Thursday I had Malik Rose on my channel with me, and Will was on there, who is the VP of player operations for the NBA G League. Had Malik Rose on here. So, and then now Butch Alsandor. So we're not going to cheat y'all on this content. So I hope y'all appreciate this. Because again, we want to give y'all like something. I mean, on YouTube, you be watching TV right now, but you're choosing to watch this stream, and we appreciate that. And we don't want to cheat you. We don't want to cheat you on no level. So I want to say that.
Yeah, like you used to say, man. My boy Hov would say, man, you could have been anywhere in the world,
but you're here today.
You're here with us, man. You're here with us. Y'all continue, man. Continue to support the channel, man. We had Kevin Pryor in here. We had James Jackson, Raw Truth Uncut in the building, who has a great channel, does a lot of great stuff, man. And y'all continue to support these channels, man. We're like-minded individuals, but we think differently at the same time. So y'all need to understand where we're coming from. Me and Clifford, I'm about to be 38. Hope's already 38. DJ is 28, 29, somewhere in there. So there is a influx of type of information from different types of age groups, different types of generations. So we're going to continue to do this every Thursday between 2 and 3, 2:10, 2:30, somewhere in there, man. So y'all hit us up about certain topics, man. Y'all make sure y'all follow Hoop Jargon, all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Between the Game Sports, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, that crazy thing called TikTok, all that other crap, man. So before we close it out, man, what you got?
That's it. Great show, great information. It went better than I expected because I just didn't, know his personality all the way, but that was golden. Golden. We
literally used to see this dude at 15, 16 years old.
Yeah. Just saw him in a different light. So it was good to see him as a grown man. Yeah. No, it was awesome, man. I hope y'all enjoyed it like I did because I really did, man. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. So, as y'all make sure y'all tune in for next Thursday. We're going to be over on Hoop Jargon's channel. For those who support me, if you had not subscribed to his channel, please do so. Childhood friends, man. So we do this. There's no beef. There's no animosity. There's no jealousy. We do this together, man. So next Thursday, we'll be on this channel. Until then, y'all be easy on your best day. Be better. Think about it. Between the Game Sports, we are out. Peace.